1 second, guys.
Okay.
Right.
Actually, mine is it.
I'm going to try to follow the same order that
I
you
can
did.
slow it on a bit.
Okay.
Here, do this.
I have 7. 7 minutes?
Yes.
That's what we're going with anyway.
Yeah, I have 7 pieces of paper.
Hey, hold on. Order. Were you not following me, or you weren't following? Were you not following me at all?
Okay, look at this.
Oh, okay. I was just confused.
Hi, Chloe.
Okay, good. I thought I was not making.
I was carried away by your rhetoric, and I
thank
just
you.
put down the pencil.
Alright.
Hold on. Order.
Hold on. Okay, I'm going to follow what he said. Topicality, our contentions, y'all's contentions.
Okay.
No catchy over sorry. Alright, starting out with topicality. He said that World War III, there's been already about, I don't know, a couple hundred world wars because of our definition. Now, we should have clarified our definition was a little bit vague, I'm sorry. Our definition is referring to a future world war. I believe that was contextually clear based on what the resolution is saying, that there's an impending World War III. And here's the reason that this, their argument doesn't hold true, is that today's situation with superpowers and weapons is completely different than any time in the past. We're talking, this is my first response. The definition holds for today and doesn't apply to previous wars. Now the reason for this is my second response is unique circumstances. Today's superpowers are economically so huge, militarily so huge. We have chemical, nuclear, biological weapons, cyber weapons. We have all of these capabilities that we haven't had before. So our ability to inflict tremendous damage on not just another country but on the entire world is unparalleled previously. Thus, any real war between two superpowers is going to involve the whole world. A third reason why this is the case and why this is a unique circumstance today is because of entangling alliances. It's not just between two countries anymore, not this time. We're talking about international organizations where we've guaranteed that if one of our NATO allies is attacked, we have to defend them with our weapons. We have a missile defense shield that we're trying to protect all of Europe, Japan with our capabilities. It's not just us versus China or us versus Iran. It's the world against those countries. So it's a completely different scenario today. Fourth, on their definition of imminent, that it has to be possible, I agree, we accept that definition. Let's move on to our contentions now. Our contention 1, if I can find it, it was talking about cybersecurity. And basically here he said that Russia, that we couldn't prove that Russia was linked to those specific cyber attacks. First response, he completely did not address our first subpoint, which I was talking about China, and the fact that we have, I believe it was, 70 attacks on our financial sector every single year. My second response here is that other countries, China, North Korea, Russia, they have the capability to basically take out a large sector of our economy, that's weird, because of their cyber capabilities and our defenses. They talked about, Josiah under his third contention, counter contention, talked about our technology. Our counter defenses, Judge, are not there in the realm of cybersecurity. They are not up to par, and we are unable to defend ourselves. We are vulnerable in this aspect, and if a World War III does happen, which we believe it will, we believe we're very vulnerable in that area, and that's going to put us at a big disadvantage. Let's move on to contention 2, that of nuclear capabilities. He talked about CTR. My first response, though, is that look at our subpoint A. We talked about North Korea and Iran. He only addressed those under his MAD analysis. He didn't specifically address the fact that both of those nations are pursuing the use of nuclear weapons, which they could use against South Korea, Israel, Japan, the United States, our European allies, a number of countries. Let's move on to subpoint B, though, which is what he did address. He talked about CTR and about how this is not a new threat and it's not corresponding to real life. I have 2 responses. First of all, terrorist groups have already obtained some materials. Our security is not enough. We have unaccountable amounts of uranium and other important things that are missing from both U.S. and Russian nuclear facilities. We don't know where they went. They up and disappeared. We have terrorists who have tried to get those before. We know that terrorists have some of them, and we know that our security is not impeccable. We cannot track all this stuff in the present and the past. Yes.
True, you said that terrorists are irrational actors and that they would use nukes if they had them, correct?
Yes, because MAD doesn't
so
apply
you just
to terrorists.
said, and you also just said that they have nukes, right?
They don't necessarily have enough quantities to put together a nuclear bomb, but they have some. They're trying to get more. All right, my next response is that North Korea and Iran are again going nuclear. This was unaddressed by the opposition. So we have both the threat that the terrorists could directly steal enough nuclear materials to build a bomb. Again, MAD does not apply to non-state actors. or we have the threat that North Korea or Iran could get nuclear weapons and then proliferate them to those non-state actors who would in turn use them. So a dual threat CTR simply does not cover for both of these. The risk is huge and it's real, and the fact that the Middle East is in complete turmoil is simply aggravating that threat today, which brings us to believe that a third world war is imminent. Let's move on to contention 3, too many crises. Here he said that possibilities don't prove likelihood. I agree, they don't absolutely prove likelihood, but what we're seeing right now is an extremely volatile area of the world is basically going up in smoke, if you will. We see that Hamas and Hezbollah is entirely gaining control of Lebanon because their government basically all resigned, and Hezbollah, leader of Hezbollah in Lebanon, is the most popular leader in the world. He is going to gain control there in Lebanon, and the fact that the people like him, because there are largely religious extremists in that particular state, there's going to be more Islamic extremist powers, more Islamic extremist governments. Mubarak was kind of in the middle, but we're seeing him being replaced with likely a more extreme group. This is going to aggravate Israel. This is going to have a trickle-down effect. The U.S. is going to get involved because we have to basically protect Israel. So we're going to inevitably get involved. Not at this time. B, he said we're already in a war in the Middle East. I'm not exactly sure where he was going with this point or the impact to it. The fact is that we're seeing a crisis erupt in the Middle East, which is very likely going to turn out to be one of the first signs of this impending world war. The trickle-down effect is going to have a number of world powers involved. Lastly, talking about Taiwan, and this brings me into his first counter-contention. He was talking about a mutually assured destruction theory and how that would defeat the purpose of Taiwan. The whole point of Taiwan is that if we don't defend Taiwan, sure, it's not so much of a big deal with that, but look at the message that that's sending to the rest of the world, because we've promised to defend so many other countries. We've promised to defend all of our NATO allies. We've promised to defend Japan and Israel. If we don't defend Taiwan, our European allies are going to start absolutely freaking out, and they're going to try to take their own steps, and it's going to really become a global war. His first counter, not because this time in protected time in 3 seconds. Counter contention 1 was talking about mutually assured destruction. First response, our missile defense is not impenetrable. Our radar is faulty. At times there have been no real life tests to prove that our missile defense would indeed prevent a nuclear attack. And Europe's missile defense is largely symbolic. It's not really there. We don't have enough defensive capabilities. Cross-apply this to his counter contention 3. It's also non-state actors do not have mutually assured destruction. Since they're not all in one country, they don't care. Sure, you can blow up a small group of Al-Qaeda terrorists, they'll pop up in other countries. MAD does not apply to them. This was unaddressed by the opposition speaker. So, counter contention 2, he talked about territorial disputes in Kashmir. We're not saying Kashmir itself is going to spark a third world war, but we're taking a step back and we're saying, look, the Middle East is in complete turmoil. Terrorists are trying to get nuclear weapons by either stealing material or they could get them proliferated to them by North Korea and Iran. We're also looking at the fact that there are a number of territorial disputes that are just about to erupt. And on any one of these factors, you put too many of them together, and the Third World War truly is inevitable. Thank you.